While one team continues to thrive, the other fights to stay alive in a battle where only the strong survive. It's Game 5 of the NLCS on Fox. Last night, Atlanta looked in fine form, but it was just a calm before the red storm. Royce was rolling when Jordan got some air. What the heck? Denny done good again. Tonight, Smoltz must get the champs off the ropes, but Stottlemyre's prepared to stand and deliver the KO. Now, it's Atlanta and St. Louis in Game 5 of the National League Championship Series on Fox.
Another chapter in the rich history of St. Louis baseball could be written tonight, as the Cardinals, with a win tonight, would join the New York Yankees in the 1996 World Series. That, of course, begins Saturday on Fox. But first things first, the Cardinals first must polish off the defending world champion Atlanta Braves tonight in Game 5, live from Busch Memorial Stadium in St. Louis. And hello again, everybody. Along with Dave Winfield and Steve Lyons, Chip Carey welcoming you to a frenzied Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where tonight the Cardinals hope to repeat history. 9 years ago today, the Cardinals clinched their last pennant. They lead this best-of-7 series over Atlanta 3-1, Dave. But Bobby Cox still feels his ball club is in good position to win the next 3 ball games.
Well, with the 3 pitchers they have coming up, I'm talking about in Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. Listen, they lost 3 in a row 7 times during the year, but they won 3 in a row 12 times. They're looking for 13 to be a charm. And the way they're going to go about it, they're going to throw caution to the wind. They're going after Smoltz early and often. I talked to George Hendrick before the game. That's how they knocked him off his 14-game winning streak. They got him early in the count and early in the game. Look for that to happen.
Well, and we talked about do-or-die situations. This certainly is a do-or-die for the Braves right now. I talked to Jeff Blauser after last night's game, kind of looked up at me and said, hey, we're in a little bit of trouble. But if they have a chance at all, they do it exactly the way they're doing it. They throw the guy who's going to win the Cy Young Award this year, Smoltz, tonight. If they get past this game, they throw the 2 guys that have won the last 5 straight National League Cy Young Award wins. That's Glavine and Maddox. And I'll tell you what, if you're a Cardinal hitter, you start thinking you might have a better chance hitting Cy Young himself.
Yeah, that's about right, Steve. No team, as you know, has ever come back in NLCS history down 3-1 to win and go on to the World Series. But Bobby Cox has been in Tony La Russa's shoes before. In 1985, when he managed Toronto, he was ahead of Kansas City 3-1. The Royals won 3 straight and went on to the World Series. Tonight, John Smoltz will try to stop the bleeding for Atlanta. Smoltz won 24 games for Atlanta in the regular season. He's been brilliant in the postseason. 1-1 for Atlanta. The starter for the Cardinals pitching on 3 days rest, Todd Stottlemyre. Stottlemyre pitched very well in Game 2, and he could be the man that sends the Cardinals into the World Series for the first time since 1987. When we come back, Joe Buck, Tim McCarver, and Bob Brenly will have the call of Game 5 here in St. Louis. Gorgeous night in downtown St. Louis, getting ready for game number 5 with the Cardinals out in front 3-1. A jam-packed Busch Stadium. They can't wait to see John Smoltz and Todd Stottlemyre. And hello again, everybody. My name is Joe Buck. Happy to be joined by my partners, Bob Brenly, Tim McCarver. Well, Tim, here we go. Cardinals up 3-1. So far, they have outplayed the Atlanta Braves, period. The Braves are backed up. They need to win 3 in a row just to get back and defend their title.
If you're an Atlanta Braves fan, you have to be thinking of that old Bob Seger line. I wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then. I mean, what happened? How are the Cardinals up 3-1? Well, the starters have been performing very well, but the bullpen has been better, especially the 2 left-handers, Tony Fasas and Ricky Honeycutt. Now, how have they done it? An example yesterday with Ryan Klesko on the left facing Fasas, Fred McGriff on the right facing Honeycutt. The right-handed side of the body gives way or bails out against these 2 sliders, as you will see. Both pitchers dropping down. The hitter goes away as the ball runs away. They open the hips too soon, and those 2 left-handers have been doing it time after time after time against the left-handers of the Braves.
So while the Cardinal pitching has been outstanding, Bob Brenly, look at the Atlanta Braves offense, and what was very strong during the regular season so far in the postseason has done little or nothing.
A very strong offense during the regular season, finishing 2nd in the National League in batting average. Here you'll see the numbers that they put up in the postseason as opposed to what they did during the regular season. particularly interesting, the second column there, runners with scoring position. They just have not been getting it done when they have gotten men on base. Sometimes you can jumpstart your offense by using the bench. That hasn't even worked for Bobby Cox. They're 0 for 6. On a positive note for Braves fans, John Smoltz on the mound. They asked him, who would you start in this game of all the great big game pitchers on your staff? He said, I'd start John Smoltz.
But then when somebody reminded him that he was John Smoltz, he went, wait a minute. Think about it. He is on the mound tonight for Atlanta. Todd Stottlemyre is on it for St. Louis. It is game number 5. Will this series go to Atlanta? We'll find out right after this from your local Fox station. Have rolled the rock out from in front of the umpire's dressing room. They have emerged from their cave. We are about ready to go in game 5 in St. Louis. Busch Stadium. They are packed in. Better than 56,000 will be on hand to watch the Atlanta Braves, the world champs, and the St. Louis Cardinals. Atlanta leads it off with Grissom. Then Mark Lemke hitting second, playing second. Chipper Jones hitting third, playing third, hitting .391 since the regular season came to a close. Then it's Fred McGriff, only 1 hit in this series. Ryan Klesko batting 5th in left field. Javi Lopez is catching. He's hitting 6th. Hitting 7th, the rookie Jermaine Dye had 3 hits here last night. Jeff Blauser, the shortstop, batting 8th, and pitching and batting 9th is the right-hander John Smoltz, likely this year's Cy Young Award winner in the National League. Cardinals take the field, and here's a look at their defense. Gary Gaetti, you highlight him at third, the 4-time Gold Glove Award winner, and he has already dazzled in this series playing third base. And tonight he plays behind right-handed pitcher Todd Stottlemyre. Ozzie Smith makes his first start of this series since game 1. No flip tonight. Ozzie Smith is 41 years old. What do you want?
I asked Tony La Russa before the game, did emotion play a role in starting Ozzie Smith tonight? He said 0. I owe it to my teammates, to my coaching staff, and to the fans here in St. Louis to put the right guy out there. Smith started against Smoltz in game 1, and he's starting tonight.
Well, it's not really that tough of a decision when you consider that Ozzie Smith has really hit John Smoltz better than anybody on this Cardinal staff throughout his career at the tune of a .322 batting average.
So not only is Ozzie in the starting lineup for St. Louis, so is Willie McGee, so is Todd Stottlemyre. Whoosh, there are the stats. 14 and 11 during the regular season. So far this postseason, he is 2-0. He started game 2 in Atlanta, and he beat Greg Maddux.
Well, you just have to keep an eye on Todd Stottlemyre's control. Working on 3 days rest should help his sinker ball. He's got a devastating slider, good changeup, good curveball. But just keep an eye on his control. He has to throw strikes and not allow these Atlanta Braves offense to get runners on base in the event that he does serve up a big ball.
I agree with you, Bob. I think his control could be better tonight than it was in game 2. It's interesting that Todd had 10 days rest before game 2 and only 3 days rest before this evening's game.
Is there anything in the rest before his first start? He threw less than 100 pitches. You would have to believe then that stamina may not be as big a question mark as it would be during the regular season.
Only 97 pitches his last outing. You see that 2 and 4-seamer. Now the 2-seamer will go away from the left-handed batters, and the 4-seamer has a tendency to ride a little bit.
He is ready to go, facing Marquise Grissom, who is 5 out of 16 in this series. Hitting .194 overall during the postseason. Struggled against Dodger pitching, and he loops one into shallow right. Long run Alicea. He won't get there, and a leadoff base hit for Grissom. So off the end of the bat, and a very good start for Atlanta. They need to jump out in front tonight. Down 3-1 with Smoltz on the mound.
Brian Jordan broke back on this ball. I'm not sure he would have caught it anyway. Alicea had no chance. Jordan breaking back 1 step, and by the time he recovered, it falls in front of him.
Grissom continues to stay hot against Todd Stottlemyre. He's over 500 now this season batting against Todd Stottlemyre. He may have to start thinking about pitching around Marquise Grissom.
To lead off the game, right?
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
Lemke now stands in and looks at ball 1 up and away. Mark Lemke playing in his 29th game in his NLCS history. He has the all-time NLCS record for games played at second base. A ball and a strike.
I wonder where Mel and Gene Stottlemyre are tonight.
I know one thing.
The mom and dad of Todd.
They are in front of a television.
You got that right.
Mel Stottlemyre, pitching coach for Joe Torre, and if the Cardinals advance, they would take on the Yankees. Stottlemyre, Torre. Be interesting. A lot of sub-themes running through that game. A rematch of 1964 when Mel Stottlemyre pitched for the Yankees and won Game 2 against St. Louis.
Yeah, you had the Bennis brothers pitching for the Cardinals. Todd Stottlemyre, the son of Mel, the pitching coach for the Yankees. All sorts of twists and turns.
Joe Torre, former manager of the Cardinals.
Right.
Lemke gets under one into right, sending Jordan back at the track, at the wall, off the wall. Grissom heads to third. He will hold there. A single and a double, and the Braves come roaring out of the gate here in Game 5.
Well, in all the talk about the lack of Braves offense throughout this NLCS, the one guy who is more than carrying his load is Mark Lemke. With the home run last night, showing surprising power again, leading off the ball game tonight. His first at bat hits the ball about halfway up the fence. Braves have action.
The Braves have scored in the first inning only one time. That was in Game 3 when Grissom scored a run. But a chance for a multi-run inning right here.
So Lemke, who hit his first home run in 53 postseason games here last night, nearly gets another. It's a double. It's second and third. Nobody out for Chipper Jones. It'll be Jones, McGriff, and Klesko with their chances to put Atlanta on top here in the first. It's funny, you talk to Tony La Russa, he'll tell you in these situations, Todd Stottlemyre is at his best. Well, he better be to keep the Braves off the board here in the first. It's 2-0 on Jones.
Interesting that Stottlemyre is working from his stretch. Runners on at second and third. Normally, a pitcher's curveball is not as good from the stretch as it is from the windup because a power pitcher doesn't have that high leg kick.
A high strike, and it's 2-1.
You can see Todd Stottlemyre right there, Bob, with that low leg kick in the delivery home.
And he got in trouble in Game 2. Both times the Braves were able to get the leadoff hitter on and put him into the stretch. That's when they scored against him.
A chance here in the first inning for Atlanta to grab an early lead. Strike 2 on Chipper Jones.
Wicked curveball there.
That's a downer. That's not a slurve or a roundhouse American Legion curveball. That is a 12-6 downer.
Second and third, nobody out. 2-2. Full count with McGriff on deck. Grissom, a blue pit into right, then Lemke, the ringing double into right center. And the struggling Fred McGriff waits next. Field, that is trouble. That'll score them both. Grissom and Lemke come home, and in the first inning on a single and two doubles, the Braves take a 2-0 lead.
It's amazing, in only his second year, the guy that the Braves want up most is Chipper Jones. He's a switch hitter. He's unaffected by right-handers or left-handers. Goes out of the strike zone here to chop down and hammer one down the left field line.
And Chipper Jones probably has fewer holes than any hitter in the Braves lineup. He can handle pitches pretty much anywhere in the strike zone, or as he showed right there, even out of the strike zone.
Now runner at second, still nobody out as McGriff takes a strike over the outside corner. 2-0 Atlanta here in the first inning. The first three have reached. And now McGriff, who is 1 out of 13 in this NLCS. A little flare over the head of Ozzie. In comes Chipper Jones, and it's 3-0 Atlanta here in the first. And isn't that exactly what Fred McGriff needed A blue pit to try to get him back on track.
Could be.
Well, you know, he'd have much preferred to hit a line drive somewhere, but when you're 1 for 13, he'll take whatever you can get.
Anything, baby, anything.
I hear you.
Stottlemyre jamming him with the fastball in on the handle. Chipper Jones knew it was in there. He was off at the crack of the bat. Think of the hits the Braves have in this inning. An opposite field single by Grissom, a booming double to right center by Lemke, an opposite field double by Jones, and a blue pit by McGriff. They've done it in every way possible.
So the Cardinals stumble out of the gate here in Game 5. Now Ryan Klesko, who hit a home run in his first at bat in last night's game off Andy Bennis, digs in. Still nobody out. McGriff, the runner at first. Ball 1 outside. Klesko 3 hits in this series, 1 long ball. 2 in the postseason, the other coming against the Dodgers. There's a strike, and it's 1-1. He will have at least a 3-run lead when he takes the mound in the bottom of the first. That's foul. Strike 2 on Klesko. Talk about hot zone, cold zone, hit zone. Andy Bennis found the hot zone for Ryan Klesko here last night.
Last night it was a changeup over the middle of the plate, but anywhere down low or up and out over the plate, Ryan Klesko is really going to let it fly.
2-2. A couple of things have happened already in this game for Atlanta. One, and probably most importantly, they've taken the crowd out of the game early. And the crowd has definitely been a factor in the first 2 games here in St. Louis.
That's some job, taking this crowd out of the game.
1 away as Klesko strikes out.
Early in the game, Stottlemyre seems to have a very good curveball tonight. This is another one of those down-breaking 12-6 curves. Doesn't really break as sharply as the pitches he threw to Chipper Jones. But Klesko with the big swing, a ball out over the plate where he likes it. Not able to come up with it.
A couple of other things that have happened here in the first inning. McGriff has a hit and an RBI. For McGriff, his first RBI of this series. And the Braves have a 3-run lead for John Smoltz, a 24-game winner during the regular season. Here's Javi Lopez. 1 on, 1 out. And a 1-1 count on Lopez, who has 5 hits in this series. Broken bat, double play ball. Gaetti boots it, and there will be no double play. Taylor made, and Gaetti juggled it, and it's only a force out, 5-4.
Looked like Gary tried to rush the throw and looked up just a wee bit, and the ball hit the heel of the glove, bounced up. He caught it before it hit the ground, and then made sure of 1. That's a common mistake made by infielders on balls that aren't hit hard with a runner at first base. You try to throw it before you get it.
So Lopez aboard with 2 out. The inning continues for Jermaine Dye. There's strike 1 from Stottlemyre. Dye finally broke through here last night. Came into the game 0 for 11, had 3 hits. Strike 2.
Well, as we showed you last night, Dye has hit some balls hard in this series, but really has nothing to show for it. Although he didn't have a very good hack right there at that Todd Stottlemyre fastball.
1 on, 2 out. And the count stays 0-2 on the rookie.
Now it's a huge thing for the Braves to come back in the first inning tonight. They blew more scoring opportunities yesterday. First and second, nobody out. The Klesko double play. leadoff walk in the 8th inning. The fat part of the order goes down by Honeycutt and Eckersley. A leadoff double in the 9th inning. They don't score.
Dive pokes one into shallow right. That's trouble. Alicea can't get there. Lopez heads to third, and it's first and third, 2 out here in the first. So we talked about breaks early, Tim McCarver. The Cardinals getting some broken bat hits. There have been 3 breaks for Atlanta here in the first inning tonight.
3 opposite field hits. I think Jermaine Dye was watching the ball, and now by the time he takes off, Alicea diving, Jermaine electing to stay at first base with 2 outs and a runner on at third. You don't want to get thrown out at second base. You already have 1 run in scoring position.
Now Blauser, the number 8 hitter. Only 2 hits in this series. First and third, 2 out. 3 runs in for Atlanta in the first. Into right field. Jordan going to get it. Calls off. Now McGee. Neither one goes after it. 2 runs are going to score. Blauser heads to third. The throw over. He is safe, and it's 5-0 Atlanta here in the first inning. And the Cardinals have absolutely fallen flat on their face here in the first inning.
It looked like Willie McGee had the glove up, warding off Brian Jordan, but the ball was tailing back to Jordan, and neither caught it.
We've seen a lot of communication problems in the outfield, not only in this series, but throughout the postseason in all the ball games. The crowd noise really becomes a factor. McGee did put his glove up, indicating I've got this one. Jordan gave way at the last second. McGee tried to catch up to it. The ball drops.
That's a tough play for a center fielder because it was hit by a right-handed batter and the ball was tailing away from McGee. An easier play for Jordan.
So the Braves have put up 5 here in the first. Now John Smoltz hitting, taking ball 1.
Communication breakdown. Drive you insane.
It's a 2-run triple off the bat of Blauser, his first hit with runners on base. Although that ball should have been handled. Runner at third, 2 out. And a 2-0 count on Smoltz, who during the regular season had 17 hits.
Let's just make sure that stays on the field.
We'll do our best. McGee and Jordan pull up short. 2 runs come in, a 5-run first inning. Now Smoltz, Alicea the dive, and the throw to end the inning. The Braves get 5 runs, 6 hits, 1 left. After a half inning, they hand it to John Smoltz, out in front by 5. Well, that top of the first inning was not what Todd Stottlemyre thought of before he went to sleep last night. Braves out in front by 5 for Smoltz. Look at the Cardinals starting lineup. Ozzie Smith will lead off, then McGee, then Gant. Ryan Jordan hit what was the game-winning home run in Game 4. Gary Gaetti will play third base and bat in the 5 spot. Then it's John Mabry at first, Tom Pagnozzi catching. Luis Alicea is hitting 8th at second base, and Todd Stottlemyre is pitching and batting 9th. The defense for Atlanta, Blauser at short, 21 LCS games for Jeff Blauser. Ties the Major League record for shortstops with those 21 LCS appearances. And now, John Smoltz, what more do you want? 24-game winner, likely Cy Young Award winner, and he has a 5-run lead in the first.
Well, that doesn't quite seem fair, but I'm sure the Cardinals are going to come out and do their best to mount some kind of an offense against John Smoltz. They've had a very good approach in every game in this series. We'll see if they can do the same thing against Smoltz tonight.
Look at Willie McGee once again putting that glove out like that. And the ball bounces in front of them. Now Jordan trying to ward off McGee. Remember, neither guy can hear anybody because of the crowd and the loudness of it.
Ozzie Smith leads it off and takes ball 1. Ozzie's second start of this series, 1 out of 7 in the postseason, was 0 for 4 against Smoltz and the rest in Game 1. Then McGee, then Gant for the Cardinals in the first inning. 2-0.
Taking pitches, down by 5, realizing that you're going to have to play 1 base at a time. You have 9 innings to score at least 5 runs.
2-1 as Smoltz is able to find the strike zone. Ozzie during the regular season hit .282 with a couple of home runs, 18 RBIs. In the leadoff spot, and he pops it up. Third base side for Chipper Jones, 1 out. And a good start for Smoltz. How about the umpires for tonight's game? It's Jerry Crawford behind home plate. Eddie Montague at first, Paul Runge at second, Mark Hirschbeck at third, Bob Davidson down the left field foul line, and Joe West down the right field line. Here's McGee. 1 out, bases empty, and McGee strike 1.
Well, you very rarely see Willie McGee take a pitch. Even in a situation where his team is down by 5 runs, Willie McGee comes off that bench hacking, swung at the first pitch every at bat last night, starts tonight swinging at the first pitch.
Better crank it up another notch, strike 2. Some of the Cardinal hitters telling us after Smoltz pitched in game 1, that's as hard as they have ever seen John Smoltz throw. Leadoff man gone, as is McGee, 2 out.
Now you give a pitcher that's already dominating an extra jolt of adrenaline out there in the postseason, and you can see performances like John Smoltz turned in game 1, and you'll see fastballs right down the middle like this 0-2, lock a hitter up.
So the first 2 have been retired, and with the bases empty, the batter will be Ron Gant. Little high from Smoltz, ball 1. Gant 5 hits in this series, a couple of home runs, which came 2 days ago. The postseason 363 home runs, 8 driven in. Hit a ton to left. If it's fair, it's gone. Curls foul for strike 1.
That was a hanging slider, and hanging sliders to hitters like tiramisu to Italian restaurant goers. They never saw one they didn't like. Check this out. That's a hanger right there, folks.
Plie last night, tiramisu tonight.
Well, you love tiramisu. I saw you digging into it the other night.
2-1 on Gant as he gets one up and in.
I never thought I was going to get quite the cultural education that I'm getting up here in the booth in this series. This
Just
is amazing.
enjoy it.
I am immensely, believe me.
Welcome to the team. Gant steps out.
Ron Gant, remember, an inside hitter, and he got an inside slider just hanging in there and pulled it foul.
2 balls and a strike, now 2-2.
Ouch. Slicing the outside corner of the plate.
That for Gant is unhittable.
Yeah, right. That for a lot of right-handers is unhittable.
Smoltz looking for a perfect first inning. His teammates got him 5 in the top half. Stottlemyre gave up 5 earned runs. Better defense behind him, it would have been 3. Gant a base hit to right field, and the Cardinals do not go in order in the first.
Well, that is terrific hitting by Ron Gant. He took that 2-1 pitch on the corner, then hit a tracer the other way.
And there's really not much to this swing. He just kind of waits and lets the ball get into the hitting zone and throws the barrel of the bat at it. You see no hips involved in that swing at all.
Flat-footed.
Flat-footed, 2-strike swing to just protect the plate.
So Gant aboard, 2 out. The batter is Jordan. Jordan last night, the game-winning home run in the 8th inning off McMichael. Has 2 home runs in the postseason. Strike 1 on Jordan. Red dot over the first base bag in our Fox box, top left-hand corner of your screen. Showing you Ron Gant is aboard here in the first with a 2-out hit.
Everything's red in this ballpark.
2 out, Jordan, a 1-ball, 1-strike count. There's most of the red. One ball, one strike on Jordan. 2-1. One on, 2 out, up the middle. Blauser, nice play, can't do anything with it. 2 on, 2 out.
You may have noticed on that scouting report to Brian Jordan, the second note was a football player's swing. That means that he's bound up so much, so muscle bound from his football days that you try to throw him high fastballs, preferably inside. This ball is not away. Little top spin on it, and it squirts away from Jeff Blauser. Infield hit for Jordan.
Boy, Gant with a very late slide going into second base. He hit that bag out there very hard. Popped up, but he seems to be okay.
Now Gaetti looks at strike one. If the Cardinals are able to get anything out of this first inning, after giving up 5 runs in the top half, 2 out, nobody on in the bottom half, hits by Gant and Jordan. Now it's up to Gaetti. Strike 2 on Gaetti in a blink.
If it's 0-2 on the slider off the plate, perhaps Smoltz will go farther off the plate. That's the one thing, by jumping ahead, you can get him out more on balls, not strikes.
2 on, 2 out, 0-2. He did not go, says the home plate umpire. Ball 1.
Chose to come with a high fastball rather than the slider out of the zone.
Close.
Gaetti was very close that time.
Cardinals trying to get back into this game here in the first inning. Right to Blauser. Safe, and the bases are loaded.
We've seen miscommunication by McGee and Jordan, and now indecision by Jeff Blauser. The double clutch. He gets under the throw. Give Gaetti credit. Hustling with a bad ankle. And McGriff stayed on the bag, but the throw was late.
Just great hustle by Gaetti.
Now the bases are loaded. 2 out from Mabry. Into center field for Grissom. Drifting, inning over. So not only do the Cardinals give up 5, they tease their fans, loading the bases. Smoltz gets out of it after 1, 5-0 Atlanta. During the regular season, Todd Stottlemyre allowed 21 first-inning runs in 33 starts, including 10 home runs, which was second most in the National League. In the first inning tonight, he allowed 5 runs on 6 hits. Better defense behind him would have cut down on that total, but it's 5-0 Atlanta. Grissom leads it off for the second straight inning, and he pops it foul for strike 1. Top of the order, Grissom, Lemke, and Jones. After Braves got 5 runs on 6 hits and left only 1 in their half of the first. One ball, 1 strike.
Whereas a pitching coach, when a pitcher has trouble in the first inning like Stottlemyre has had, you try anything. You have him throw longer in the bullpen. Maybe you have him throw his normal warm-up and then sit down for 15 minutes and then throw again. And I'm sure they've tried it all.
Marquise Grissom, a couple of hits to start, both to the right side. One a blue base hit. Now a sharper hit ball through the right side, and he's on for the second inning in a row.
We have talked earlier in the series about Marquise Grissom, who has as his housemate Jermaine Dye, the right fielder, been staying with him for 2.5 months. One of 15 children, and he has bought 11 houses for his family. siblings, mother and father. 11, and he told me before the game, 3 more to go.
What a wonderful person.
I mean, that's one of the nicest things I've ever heard.
It's a great story. I'd love to be his real estate agent, though.
1 on, nobody out. Lemke, a ground ball, base hit right field. Stottlemyre is fooling no one. Grissom goes first to third, and it's runners at the corners here in the second with nobody out. That is 8 hits already for Atlanta.
Well, it's time for somebody to get out there to the mound and stall a little bit as Danny Jackson begins to throw in the Cardinals bullpen. Try to give him some time to throw some pitches. Now Dave Duncan is going to make a trip to the mound.
Danny Jackson, normally a starting pitcher, is in the bullpen, and most starters need more time than guys who are geared to a short warm-up time. And Danny telling his catcher, get the ball back to me in a hurry so I can throw. Let's go.
Todd Stottlemyre gets a visit from Dave Duncan and Tom Pagnozzi. As he has allowed 5 runs on 8 hits, he's in trouble again here in the second. We talked about it last night, about the Atlanta Braves. Last night they go to Nagel. That pushes everybody back 1 by using 4 starters, so they have Smoltz with 1 more day of rest than Stottlemyre or any pitcher the Cardinals will throw out there the rest of the way. Now they have Maddox going in game number 6, and if there is a game 7, they have Glavine. First and third, nobody out, and ball 1 to Chipper Jones.
Rested more than the Cardinals starters. You never want to be down 3 games to 1. But if you are, you want, and it does go to 7, you want those 3 guys going for you.
1 ball, 1 strike on Chipper Jones. Grissom and Lemke aboard with hits. And a 2-1 count on Jones. A long night already for Stottlemyre, and he's only in the second inning. 3-1 on Jones. And with McGriff on deck, this right here could be it for Stottlemyre.
He's throwing very upright right now, not really finishing off his pitches, kind of spinning off towards the first base side. Everything he's thrown to Chipper Jones has been up.
Runners at the corners, nobody out, and a 3-ball, 1 strike count on Jones. Up the middle, another hit. The 9th of the night for Atlanta. Grissom scores, and it's 6-0 Braves in the second.
There you'll see Stottlemyre's delivery. We were talking about how upright and erect he is as he delivers the ball. Notice very little finish on this. As he lets go, you can see the upper body comes right back up immediately, almost recoiling.
Here comes Tony La Russa to take him out. That's a good point, Bob, because a lot of people used to say in order to get the ball down, a pitcher has to bend his back. That's not true. In order to get the ball down, you bend your legs and you pitch from the lower part of your body. Consequently, your back bends and the ball stays down.
A long and short night for Todd Stottlemyre. He leaves in the second. Braves lead by 6. We are in the top of the second inning. Only a 38-pitch night for Cardinal starter Todd Stottlemyre. 1+ innings. So far, 6 runs on 9 hits. No walks, a strikeout, and he is out of the game here in the second inning. He gives way to Danny Jackson. The Cardinals had hoped that Stottlemyre's problems in the LCS were behind him. Coming into this season, Stottlemyre had been in 4 ALCS games with Toronto, an ERA of 6.87 coming into tonight. In 1996, 2-0. He'd really been throwing well, and now it's Danny Jackson on before he thought he would be, coming into the start of this evening on in the second, and he's right into trouble. First and third, nobody out.
Now what Tony La Russa needs now from Danny Jackson is 5 or 6 innings to keep the Braves at bay here, if you will. And he should be used to going that distance, being a starting pitcher. Has to stop this tide of hits, though.
Fred McGriff. Rifle right at Mabry. Double play.
It's almost like skeet shooting. Pull. Double play.
That was self-defense more than anything else. He really had no time to react. Just gets the glove up almost to protect his face.
Man.
Scrambles back to make the tag on the bag, the double-off chipper.
That almost literally knocked Mabry over.
I think the force of the line drive may have.
Now Klesko comes up empty, strike one.
Breaks come in strange packages.
It's a one-run inning for Atlanta. They lead 6-0. The double play helps St. Louis. Now Klesko, runner at third, 2 out. Line drive, base hit into center. That makes it 7-0 here in the second. So not only are the Braves winning a game they need to win to get this series back to Atlanta, but they're playing behind John Smoltz. And Bob, they're getting good swings from McGriff, from Klesko. The top of the order has been outstanding, as it has been really throughout this series. So things are starting to get back into place for the world champions.
The Braves have hit more balls on the button tonight than they had in the previous 4 games of this series.
That'll put a smile on the face of Clarence Jones maybe later. Not yet, evidently.
By the way, that's the first hit that the Braves team has against a left-handed pitcher in the postseason. They had none against the Dodgers, Mark Guthrie, Scott Radinsky, and none against Tony Fossis or Rick Honeycutt.
Two 2-0 the count on Javi Lopez. 1 on, 2 out, second inning, 7-0 Atlanta. Now Danny Jackson runs the count 3-0.
When Danny Jackson was younger, he used to be so low that he would actually drag his left knee on the ground. He doesn't get down quite that low anymore. He's a different pitcher now than he was 10 years ago.
Now the walk. So 4 hits in the inning, 2 runs are home. The walk makes it 2 on, 2 out with Jermaine Dye coming up.
I remember Tom Seaver, a guy who used the lower part of his body, I think, better than any pitcher, with the possible exception of Nolan Ryan. But Tom Seaver got so low when he would throw that riding fastball that he often wore a knee pad on his right knee.
2 on, 2 out here in the second inning. Danny Jackson now creates his own trouble as Dye fouls away strike 1.
Well, there's a term that pitching coaches use, drop and drive. You know,
yeah,
get on that back leg and drop down and drive towards home plate. And Seaver and Nolan Ryan, and as you mentioned, Danny Jackson earlier in his career, great examples of that drop and drive theory.
Drop and drive as opposed to tall and fall. 0-1 on Dye. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jermaine, who is coming alive. He has a hit tonight. He had 3 here last night.
Here you see Jackson's delivery, and he does drop down on that back leg a little bit, but nowhere near as extreme as he used to be earlier in his career.
2 on, 2 out. Right at Alicea. High hop. Inning over. Braves get 2 more on 4 hits. They lead 2. Stranded 3 after an inning and a half. They're trying to stay alive. They lead by 7.
Fox Sports coverage of Major League Baseball's National League Championship Series is brought to you by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By Network MCI, we have the power to put it all together for your business. And by Aflac, insuring over 40 million people worldwide.
Well, the Cardinal fans who packed into Busch Stadium tonight hoping to see the Cardinals clinch this NLCS and head to the World Series, they don't like what they see. Bobby Cox, how nervous is he?
Well, the 7-run lead in the second inning and the Cy Young Award winner on the mound, and your pinch hitter's 0 for 6 in the series. Why not cue it up a little bit, huh?
You know, that really points out the feeling you get when you get into that Braves clubhouse, as we did before the game tonight. They do not appear to be a team that's worried. They do not appear to be a team that's facing elimination. They will tell you, at least they did tonight, this series will go back to Atlanta, and we like our chances with Smoltz tonight, then Maddox, and then Glavine.
That's the enormous confidence they have in their 3 starters.
Ball and 2 strikes on Pagnozzi leading off here in the second. And I think it all stems from that man right there.
Both of those men, Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni, his pitching coach.
Cox's demeanor never changes.
Nope. Except yesterday after the game. He was upset about that game yesterday. He said you cannot blow a 3-run lead in the late innings against any team, but especially in the LCS.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Pagnozzi.
And he felt like they blew that game yesterday.
Pagnozzi a big hand in it with a 2-out walk, which was the end of the night for Nagel. Then the pitching change, then McMichael, then the rookie Dimitri Young, the 2-run triple, and it fell apart after that. 3-2 to Pagnozzi. Lemke to his right. Tough play, great play. 1 away here in the second.
His teammates referred to him as dirt, nitty-gritty. And we've mentioned it before, Bobby Cox's favorite player turns a double play better than any second baseman in the National League. Fine play by Mark Lemke.
Alisea pops it up on the first pitch. Klesko wants it. 2 quick outs here in the second.
You know, it's really hard to describe how tough a play that really is when you're running full speed away from where you want to throw the ball and are still able to get enough on the throw to get the runner by a stride and a half at first base. Just a great play.
You have to throw the ball back toward where you were.
Don't try that at home.
2 out, nobody on in the second inning for Danny Jackson. Very good hitting pitcher. Takes the ball low. Stottlemyre never even got to the plate tonight.
I would like to correct something I said the last inning. I said the hit by Ryan Klesko was the first against a left-hander in postseason for the Braves. That was wrong. A left-handed reliever, it was the first hit. Here's
Still
Rhino.
stands, however, as Danny Jackson came in as a reliever. You don't think of Danny Jackson as a relief pitcher, predominantly a starter through his big league career. Strikes out looking, and John Smoltz has settled in after 2 in St. Louis. Braves out in front by 7. We'll be back to Busch after this from your local station. Into the top of the 3rd inning here in St. Louis. It appears more and more likely this series is headed back to Atlanta. 7-0 Braves. And they bat in the 3rd with Blauser, Smoltz, and Grissom. And it's Danny Jackson back to work. Blauser was the one who hit that ball into right center field that fell in for a 2-run triple with 2 out in the 1st inning. Ball that should have been caught that changed what should have been a 3-run inning to a 5-run inning. Since then, the Braves have added 2 and lead by 7. So Blauser picking up only his 3rd hit of this series. Danny Jackson missed the first 4 months of the season after ankle surgery, which he injured toward the tail end of 1995. So After signing a big contract before the '95 season, Danny Jackson really has not contributed to this Cardinal team like he thought he would, or like the Cardinals thought he might. Blauser into deep left field. And in front of the track, 1 out. Hey, the Coneheads. Tomorrow, the original family of aliens from outer space is landing on Fox. Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin head an all-star cast in the hilarious film Coneheads on the Fox Tuesday night movie beginning at 8 Eastern, 7 Central.
Mips, mips, mips. John Lovett, the dentist, right?
Looked like it.
Well, some of the Cardinal fans that were counting on a trip to the World Series tonight will probably consume mass quantities, I would assume.
1 out, nobody on, and Smoltz, who grounded out to second his first time, takes the first 2 out of the strike zone. They have to tear that New York off there, at least for now.
And not yet.
1 out, nobody on, and a 2-ball, 1 strike count on Smoltz. John Smoltz able to relax that 7-run lead. 24 wins during the regular season, had never won more than 15 games during any regular season. This year was his breakout year. 29-year-old is scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the season. 3-2.
He'll be at the top of the list of the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves with a $48 million payroll. The Cardinals with a $37 million payroll.
Up the middle, a base hit for Smoltz, and he's on with 1 out in the 3rd.
You might say, well, it's a 7-0 lead. The game's probably out of reach. I think that it's imperative that the Cardinals keep this game close, and I'll tell you why. At least as close as they can right now. If it becomes a double-digit blowout, then what Bobby Cox may do is have John Smoltz go 5 innings, take him out of the game, and have him available for Thursday in case Tommy Glavine falters, a left-handed starter. All the right-handers will be in there for the Cardinals. He could go 2 or 3 innings.
Good play, Alicea, for the force out on the short hop. Off the bat of Grissom. That was outstanding. The force out 4-6 for the 2nd out here in the 3rd.
If the Cardinals score a couple of runs, or if no more runs are scored by the Braves, Bobby Cox will feel a little uneasy about removing John Smoltz. Possibly.
And that would serve a dual purpose because he could throw some of the pitchers in the bullpen, give them an inning, and because he's going to need them sometime before the postseason is over.
Right.
So Bobby Cox and the Atlanta Braves in charge here tonight. Game number 5, out in front by 7. 1 on, 2 out for Lemke, who's already doubled and singled tonight. 1 on, 2 out. Strike 1. Would it be fair to say, just throw this out there, that the Atlanta Braves came into this series after sweeping the Dodgers, really not getting much of a fight from LA, not expecting this kind of a battle with St. Louis?
I don't know whether that's fair to say or not. The Braves are a tough team to read. They're a very confident team, but they don't carry themselves arrogantly with that confidence.
Lemke up the middle. Danny Jackson dodging bullets for his life out there. That's a couple back through the box here in the 3rd. And 2 hits in the inning for Atlanta.
3 hits, 3 innings for Lemke. Hanging slider. Get down, Danny. You know, the innocent remark that Chipper Jones made about the Dodgers, I think the Braves are saying, well, we were worried about the Dodgers. That doesn't mean that they weren't worried about the Cardinals. Everybody's saying, did they give the Cardinals proper respect? I think absolutely they did.
2 on, 2 out. Ball 1 to Chipper Jones.
I would agree with that. I mean, the Braves carried themselves with a very high level of professionalism all season.
That's right.
Chipper Jones trying to add to the Atlanta 7-run lead. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Chipper Jones individually, like the Braves collectively, in only his 2nd year, a very confident young man. but he does not carry himself with arrogance. He carries himself with confidence, and there's a huge difference. I mean, after all, what are you supposed to be?
2-1. I think in a way, though, it's almost a natural reaction when you're a team like Atlanta, who swept Cincinnati last year. They finally get to the World Series, where they had been throughout the 90s, had never finally taken the World Championship. They win. They beat a very good Cleveland team 4-2. They go back to the postseason this year. They sweep right through the Dodgers. I think it's almost a little natural to feel comfortable in the postseason.
It may be a natural reaction, but it doesn't mean the natural reaction is justified.
Well, it's a much more relaxed group of Atlanta Braves players on that bench tonight than it has been the other 2 games here in St. Louis.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 the count. Grissom stealing third. Throw down. He is safe. And it's a 3-2 count on Chipper Jones. So the Braves have not quit, up by 7.
Oh, this is quite surprising to me. I mean, you take what an opposing team will give you, but by the same token, you don't want to run yourself into a crazy situation with 2 outs in the inning. You got your conceivably your best hitter on the team at the plate.
Right.
A big lead. Normally, this is the point of the game. You just go up there and swing the bats and go station to station.
That'll load him up. 2 hits and a walk in the inning, so Danny Jackson has not fared much better than Todd Stottlemyre. And the Braves have a chance out in front by 7 with the bases loaded, 2 out to, if it's not already over, blow it away.
And this would not be the case had Marquise Grissom been thrown out at third base, and that's your point, Bob. Any play that close at third with 2 outs, it's the wrong base running play. He got away with it, but it was the wrong play to make.
So the bases are loaded with 2 out, and it's back to Fred McGriff. And if nothing else for Atlanta, another chance for McGriff to gain a little more confidence. He's had 2 good at bats, an RBI single his first time up, and then he lined out to first into a double play. By far the hardest hit ball of this series off his bat. To the right side, foul ball. And a good thing, because McGriff didn't run.
This is very close. If it goes over the bag fair, I'll tell you, that ball could have been a fair ball. I think that ball was a fair ball. It only landed about an inch foul, and the trajectory of that ball, if that's the proper word on a ground ball, Ed Montague, a super umpire, but I thought that ball was a fair ball. I thought it went over the bag fair.
McGriff never did leave the batter's box, and the count now 1-1.
We'll get another look at it. The ball starts in fair territory, hooking all the way down the line. You can see where it hits, just off of the foul line. Tough to call. Tough call for Eddie Montague.
That ball's going to get out of play for strike 2 on McGriff.
I will defer to Eddie's judgment. He's a lot closer than we are, and he's made a lot of great calls over the course of his career.
Didn't have that angle we just had, though. Playing devil's advocate there.
Grissom, Lemke, and Chipper Jones aboard. Bases loaded, 2 out for McGriff. And a 2-2 count. Danny Jackson relieved in the second. Came on to allow an RBI hit and a walk. Here in this inning, 2 hits and a walk. The 2-2 to McGriff. Foul again.
That one was foul. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Boy, Freddie McGriff is getting a lot better swings in this ball game already. Just here in the 3rd inning. Seems to be much more aggressive, much more comfortable at the plate, laying off the tough pitches and getting very good swings at the pitches he can handle. There's a man that's very happy to see it.
Bases loaded, 2 out. Just missed. Full count, and the runners will go.
Now the runner at third will kind of go, because you don't want to go too hard and be too close to home when you go. Obviously in foul territory.
Three-2 from Jackson. Inning over. Braves threaten, do not score. A couple of hits, a walk. They leave the bases loaded. Bottom of the third, 7-0 Atlanta. Bottom of the third inning, 7-0. Atlanta out in front, trying to force a game 6. That will come your way on Wednesday night. Ozzie Smith will lead it off for the Cardinals' third inning. McGee will follow, then Gant. Cardinals will try to somehow get back into this game. It won't be easy with Smoltz on the mound. Strike one on Ozzie, who fouled out to third his first time up. Quickly, 2 strikes on the Cardinal leadoff hitter. This very well could be Ozzie Smith's last game as a Cardinal here at Busch Stadium if the series goes back to Atlanta and if Atlanta wins the series. That's why, Tim, you talked about earlier, was it an emotional decision for Tony La Russa to put Ozzie in there? He said no. Ozzie strikes out for the first out here in the third. Remember, folks, if Atlanta wins tonight, then Wednesday it's game 6 of the NLCS. When Brian Jordan leads the Cardinals back to Atlanta. Take on Ryan Klesko and the Braves. The road to the World Series on Fox continues Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That is if it is necessary. McGee shoots one foul down the left field foul line, strike one.
No team has, to reiterate, has ever come back in an NLCS down 3-1 and won it. Of course, the NLCS was the best 3 out of 5 until 1985. So we're only talking about 11 years.
One out, nobody on. McGee loops one into center for a 1-out hit. Willie McGee actually came up through the New York Yankees farm system. There are the scouts in from New York from the Yankees scouting this game.
Joe, you mentioned Willie McGee in the Yankee farm system. So was Fred McGriff, the guy holding him on right now as Atlanta has a 7-run lead. I'm not too sure I'd hold Willie on here.
Gant looks at a strike and a breaking ball.
I guess you could do it since Ron Gant's such a pull hitter. But if you get a left-hander up there, I don't think you'd see Fred holding the runner on with a 7-run lead.
Gave you that shot of Chuck Cottier, Ron Hansen, Gene Michael, the scouts in from the Yankees, watching this game 5. 1 ball, 1 strike on Gant. Be interesting to see the different approach the Yankees might have depending on who they face. Of course, the Atlanta Braves, predominantly a left-handed hitting club, which would fit right into the Yankees' hands with a guy like Pettit or Jimmy Keane on the mound. The Cardinals a little tougher from the right side. And you'd think automatically David Cone.
Well, there you see the home runs by direction. Power to left field, dead pull hitter, fastballs from the middle of the plate in, up or down.
In this series, 1 home run to left, 1 to center.
1 on, 1 out here. The Cardinals and their fans looking for any spark. 3-1 from Smoltz. Remember back in the first inning, the first 2 Cardinals went down, then Gant, Jordan, Gaetti, all 3 had hits. But Mabry flied to center and the Cardinals left 3.
It's actually easier to hit in situations like this because the pitch is predictable.
Broken bat, foul ball as McGee was on the move on that 3-1 pitch.
When you're 7 runs down, a pitcher does not want to walk you. So he's going to throw the strike. Just hope it doesn't saw you off like Smoltz did Ron Gant.
That was the same kind of swing he took in the last at bat when he poked the ball into right field, but this time the pitch was an inch or two further outside and got right on the end of that bat.
Yeah, that's a real broken bat right there. That was a 3-piecer.
Gant gets a new one back to the plate. Maybe a chance here in the 3rd inning for the Cardinals to make a game of it. A 1-out hit by McGee to center. A 3-2 count on Gant. McGee running. Gant the line drive. This will be a double play. Score at 6-3 and the inning is over. So the Cardinals also hitting into tough luck. Pitching has not been there for Tony La Russa tonight, and after 3, Atlanta out in front by 7. Top of the 4th inning, Braves bat out in front by 7. Have out hit the Cardinals 12-4. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority in the office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without express written consent. 4th inning, and Atlanta sends in Klesko, Lopez, and Dye. 3rd inning of work for Danny Jackson. Behind home plate and out of play. Ryan Klesko tonight is struck out. He's also singled home a run back in the 2nd. And he did it against Danny Jackson, who has been in league championship play. Kansas City, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and now St. Louis.
As a matter of fact, the last time Danny Jackson pitched in postseason play was in this ballpark. Or the last time he pitched in this ballpark, it was postseason play, I should say. Did it with the Kansas City Royals, winning Game 5 of the 1985 World Series. Beat the Cardinals 5-0, and that kept Kansas City alive. The series went back to Kansas City, but then being down 3-1 that year, Kansas City came back to win it. The call by Don Dinkinger in the 8th inning of Game 6, never to be forgotten in this city.
There's Todd Worrell on the mound for St. Louis in his first year. Klesko strikes out, and that is the 2nd strikeout for Jackson so far.
Jackson with a good fastball, middle in, a place that Klesko really likes the ball, but as Timmy showed you on that pregame show against left-handers, Klesko has a tendency to bail out a little bit. Pulled his head, didn't really get a good look at that pitch.
Lopez looks at ball 1. Javi has bounced into a force-out, scored a run, and walked. Should have the next couple of days off. Travel day tomorrow, and then it's Maddox on the mound in Game 6.
You know, Joe, you may remember that Game 5, Kansas City and St. Louis, the 1985 World Series. In that game in the 7th inning, George Brett went toward the Kansas City dugout. He tried to make a catch. Matter of fact, he made the catch of the ball, tumbled down the dugout, and everybody very concerned about Brett. He was caught by Lee May, but as you could see, something like that wouldn't happen. Now, because they have that guard up in front of the dugouts, that's to prevent players such as Brett, our first baseman, from toppling into the dugout.
1 on, 1 out. Jermaine Dye fouls one out of play. Talked to Bobby Cox about the dugouts here, really dugouts anywhere. It's really tough to watch a game from down there and get a good feel for exactly where a ball is hit.
How about what Bobby Cox said about the ball that Chipper Jones hit yesterday? He went running out to Ed Montague and he said, you know, Ed, everybody in the dugout said that ball was in the flower bed, but I couldn't see it. So I'm going to defer to your judgment. Can you get help? He did. Bob Davidson said it hit the edge of the wall. He said that's good enough for me.
That's why now pitchers will chart games from the clubhouse off the television, as you said here last night, because you just get a better view. So skewed down there.
Yeah.
Stuff to really get a good feel for where the ball is pitched, where the ball is hit, how a defense is playing, what have you.
It's actually one of the worst seats in the ballpark when you come to think of it, as far as seeing what happens on the field. You're below field level most of the time. That's why a lot of ballparks, the guys will stand up on the top step. They'll sit up on the railing.
7 of the 19 runs scored so far in this NLCS by Atlanta scored tonight. Dye strikes out over the outside corner. That's 2 strikeouts in the inning. And 3 in the game for Danny Jackson.
Fastball low and away from Jackson. Little sink on it. Another straight fastball right down the middle. Tries to get him to chase up high out of the zone, and then a backdoor slider. See you later.
1 on, 2 out. Jeff Blauser, strike 1.
As opposed to throwing the slider that starts over the plate and breaks down and into the right-hander, a backdoor slider starts off the corner of the plate and sneaks over that outside corner, coming in the back door.
It's almost a misnomer, isn't it, Bob? It's almost a side door slider.
Blauser waiting for an 0-1 from Jackson. Ball and a strike. Chipper Jones, Jermaine Dye, the rest of the Braves hoping this series heads back to Atlanta for game 6 and 7. And again, it's Maddox in game 6. Glavine, game 7. Strike 2 on Blauser.
You know, a lot of times a team will have a game plan going in against a pitcher, saying, for example, we're going to swing early in the count. We're going after that first pitch. Or we're going to make him work deep in the count, hope he makes a mistake. Against Danny Jackson, it's pretty apparent that the Braves have decided they're going to go back up the middle. We've seen several hard hit balls already right back over the pitcher's mound and into center field. And some very good plays up the middle on balls hit back through the box.
Lemke, Klesko, and Smoltz, all singles up the middle.
1 on, 2 out. Lopez at first. A 1-out single. 13 hits tonight for Atlanta. 2-2 now on Blauser. Braves have to get Blauser going. He does have a 2-run triple in this game, but that was a ball that fell in right center that should have been handled. And has only 3 hits in this series. Two balls, 2 strikes. Checked his swing. And the count runs full.
Good hard slider down and in from Danny Jackson. Blauser just able to check that swing. That's a pitch that Steve Carlton made famous, that hard left-handed slider down and into the right-handed batter, get him to swing over the top of it.
Started throwing it in this ballpark in 1969.
Runner going on the 3-2 pitch. That's ball 4. The third walk issued by Jackson. 2 on, 2 out here in the 4th for the pitcher Smoltz.
Steve Carlton had such success with that slider that year that he struck out 19 Mets. He became the first pitcher ever to strike out 19 in a game, and he lost 4-3. Ron Swoboda hit 2 two-run home runs against him.
Here's Smoltz, who has a hit tonight. Ball 1 up and in.
I tell you, after that game, there was no doubt in my mind that the Mets were not going to be world champions that year, because those 2 pitches that Swoboda hit were impossible to hit out of the ballpark fair. They were inside, just off the plate. 1 slider, 1 fastball, and how he could, and I mean nasty, right on the hands. That's where you pitch Swoboda. How he could keep those balls fair, I'll never know. I knew the Mets, that was their year then.
It was a miracle.
Yeah.
But he hit those 2 balls fair.
You might say so.
2 balls and a strike from Danny Jackson.
Are you being tacky?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. A hit and a walk in the inning. Am I being tacky? Friendly?
Well, why should tonight be any different from every other night?
2-2 now on Smoltz. I shudder to think where this broadcast is going. The last 5 innings.
Well, we're probably going to Georgia tomorrow morning if it continues at this pace.
Braves out in front by 7 in Game 5. Down 3-1. Trying to survive St. Louis and get this series back to Fulton County Stadium. 2 on, 2 out. 2-2 the count on Smoltz. Already has a hit, and he's getting some good swings against Danny Jackson. I know you guys like the attitude that Smoltz had about pitching in this game, and Bobby talked about it at the start. He was asked who he would choose of the pitchers the Braves have to pitch, and he said, me. Why not? What more do you want? 24 wins during the regular season. So far, 2-0 in the postseason.
Another example of that honest confidence that these Braves have.
Smoltz is 7-1 in 15 postseason starts. Trying to go to 8-1 with 1 here tonight. 2-2 the count. Jackson's having a tough time. Bases were loaded back in the 3rd. Jackson got out of it. A hit and a walk, and now a full count of the pitcher, Smoltz. There's one of last night's heroes, Dimitri Young. Runners going, and another hit for Smoltz. That'll bring in Lopez and make it 8-0 Atlanta. And yet another one up the middle.
Danny Jackson's probably about ready to have that pitcher screen put out there on the mound that they used during batting practice. He is absolutely getting peppered by the Braves hitters, going right back through the middle. Here you'll see a very good look at it. Ground ball, can't get the glove on it, right over the rubber and into center field.
A lot of high fives going on in that Atlanta dugout tonight. It started with 5 runs in the 1st, 2 runs in the 2nd. Loaded the bases, didn't score in the 3rd. They've scored a run here in the 4th, and they lead by 8. Now Grissom tries to dunk another one into right, strike 1. Marquise a couple of hits, a bloop hit into right, and a ground ball base hit into right. He's also reached on a force out and stolen a base. Runners on at the corners, 2 out here in the 4th inning for Atlanta. He's trying to get out of play, and it will for strike 2. If things stay the way they are, Atlanta will go home. The series goes back to Fulton County Stadium with the Cardinals leading the series 3-2. But I bet the Atlanta Braves won't feel like they're behind in the series 3-2 with Maddox and Glavine scheduled to pitch the final 2 games of the series.
You know what I think will happen? I think the crowd in Atlanta will be a lot louder than they were the first 2 games.
Little flare into center, base hit off the bat of Grissom. In to score is Blauser. Over to 3rd is Smoltz, and it's 9-0 Braves here in the 4th. Okay, so if you wouldn't bite on my question about the Braves being a little overconfident, not necessarily intentionally, but only because of the success they've had, how about the Atlanta fans? You think they might charge up after what's happened here in this series in St. Louis?
I think so, because the crowds were so loud the first 2 games here in St. Louis. I think it will serve as kind of a shock effect for the Atlanta Braves fans.
Much like Dennis Eckersley said the other night, you don't know what you had until it was gone.
That's right.
He appreciated playing in the postseason, but didn't realize how much he missed it until it was gone. And the Atlanta Braves and their fans were on the verge of losing that, something they'd become very accustomed to. So I agree. I think they should be out there in large numbers and in full force, full volume.
Remember Game 1, a crowd of only 48,686, less than capacity for Game 1 of the NLCS. Now it's Lemke. You know, you look at Lemke, And it doesn't knock you over when you think back over this series what he's done, but he has 3 hits tonight. He has 7 hits in this series. Overall, hitting .412 in this NLCS. 2-0 from Danny Jackson. Tony Fawcett's getting ready for the Cardinals in their bullpen. There's another one up the middle. That'll play Smoltz and make it 10-0 Atlanta here in the 4th inning. A 4-hit night for Lemke. And the Braves have run it up. And we're not even through 3.5 innings here in St. Louis.
We might be flirting with some records here tonight, guys. Mark Lemke with 4 hits in 4 innings. That doesn't happen that often in the regular season. 4 straight innings. Lemke has had a hit. I love that that stat at this pace. At this pace, he's going to go 9 for 9 this game.
2 on, 2 out. Doesn't get any easier. Now Chipper Jones looks at a strike.
You have to wonder if Tony La Russa is thinking about pulling one of his outfielders and stationing him right in front of the pitcher's mound. Where every ball is being hit. If you looked at the spray chart against Danny Jackson, it would be a solid line back through the middle of the field.
A couple between his legs, a couple by his ear. A 1-1 count on Chipper Jones.
Now a check of the scorecard. Every hit the Braves have had off Danny Jackson, 6 of them have been up the middle. Every one.
Runners on at first and second, 2 out. To the right side, diving catch, Alicea to end a very long top half of the 4th inning. Braves get 3. They are in control, trying to get this series back to Atlanta. They lead by 10. There are the cold, hard facts for Cardinal fans. The good news for Atlanta, they're up by 10. Hey, don't forget, Saturday, the World Series on Fox begins as either Atlanta or St. Louis heads to New York to take on Bernie Williams and the American League champion Yankees. That is this Saturday. Coming up, coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. World Series this year exclusively right here on Fox. Brian Jordan first up. The cleanup hitter already has a hit tonight. This is only Jordan's second at bat. Meanwhile, Lemke has already had 4. The Braves out in front by 10. It's more like an NFC West matchup than NLCS. Falcons over the Rams.
Well, rather than overconfidence, I think the Braves have to start being concerned with fatigue at this point. They've been running around those bases like a fire drill out there.
2 balls, 2 strikes, but you have to believe they don't mind one bit after the frustrating first 2 games of the series that shifted to St. Louis. Games 3 and 4. Cardinals won them both. Still 2-2 on Jordan.
Well, again, we talked about a double-digit lead for Atlanta earlier. Well, they have that lead. And if John Smoltz can get out of the next 2 innings, throwing the minimum amount of pitches, you wonder whether Bobby Cox will take him out of there or not.
There's Smoltz dropping down a little bit again. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
He did that to Jordan in the game in Atlanta. His start in game 1, dropped down, threw a fastball, then came right back and threw a slider.
You can hear Bobby Cox saying, when are you going to come up with one of those, Tommy?
Talking to Tommy Glavine, suggesting against left-handers.
To the right side, high hop Lemke, and Jordan an easy out here in the 4th inning. So Jordan 1 for 2. And all the momentum for the Cardinals that had built up from game 2, then to 3, then with a dramatic come-from-behind win here last night. Well, all that appears gone. And the Cardinals weren't kidding themselves. After last night's game, they said, hey, look, while this city is going crazy, wait a minute. We got Smoltz, Maddox, and Glavine. We still have a lot of work in front of us. Jones cannot make the play, and Gaetti is aboard for the second time tonight.
I think that ball was centered by Chipper too much. Usually you play that ball off to the side. That's actually the proper way to field it. Watch how the ball is in the middle of his body. Looks like he handcuffed himself on that play. Instead of off to the side, it ends up in the middle of the body. Error on Chipper Jones. Nope, it's a hit.
Base hit, so Gaetti has 2 hits. Neither one has left the infield.
I wonder when the last time he had 2 infield hits in one ball game, or 1 month.
It's been a while, but you have to credit him with good hustle for a guy who came into this series. Gimpy with a bad right heel. Now Mabry shoots one through the left side, and the Cardinals have 2 on with 1 out here in the 4th inning. So back-to-back hits with 1 out here in the 4th inning, and Tony La Russa is going to go to his bench after the hit by Mabry through the left side. And La Russa is going to give Pagnazzi the rest of the night off. Smart move.
Not only the rest of this game, but all day tomorrow. And it's likely the Braves will win this game up by 10 with their pitching staff. Wouldn't be a minor miracle to see the Cardinals come back. It'd be a major miracle.
Danny Schaefer pinch hits for Pagnazzi, and he'll stay in and catch. Last night pointed out why Bobby Cox likes to carry 3 catchers in the postseason. One reason is for injury. You're stuck because you can't make any roster additions or changes during a series. So he keeps 3 catchers. The other is last night able to make the double switch and then lift his 2nd string catcher for a pinch hitter Pendleton in the 9th inning against Eckersley. Cardinals carrying only 2. You know who the emergency 3rd string catcher is? Brian Jordan. 2 strikes on Schaefer.
It gets back to that football mentality we've been talking about with Brian Jordan. I got a feeling he'd go out there anywhere on the field Tony La Russa asked him to, including behind home plate.
Until he's gone behind home plate, he would take that attitude. Once he's back there, wishing he were back in right field.
2 on, 1 out. Schaefer stays at the plate with a count of 1-2.
That's why for a lot of ball clubs it's so important to have a utility player who can go behind the plate in an emergency. Not necessarily a regular catcher, but yet somebody who could do it for a stretch of a few innings here or there until you could get relief.
Guy like B.J. Surhoff, the Baltimore Orioles, starting left fielder. He can play 3rd. Broke in as a catcher.
Schaefer strikes out. 2 out here in the 4th inning. Heck, the Orioles had 4 guys who could catch.
Right.
They had Hoyles, they had Parent, they had Surhoff, and they had Zeal, who came up with St. Louis as a catcher. This is strikeout number 4 for John Smoltz.
Good hard slider low and away out of the strike zone. Schaefer to chase a bad pitch right there.
So 2 on, 2 out. Schaefer retired, and the batter will be Alicea. Luis 0 for 1. Ball 1. Smoltz has allowed 6 hits, but he struck out 4, and so far throwing a shutout. That'll get out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. Alicea making only his 2nd start of this series. It's been Gallego for games 2, 3, and 4. Gets under it, pops it up. Lemke out. Inning over. 2 hits for the Cardinals. They lead 2. They've stranded 5. After 4 in St. Louis, 10-0 Atlanta. Top of the 5th inning, Cardinals take the field. They trail by 10. Mark Sweeney has come into the game to give Brian Jordan the rest of the night off. Sweeney will bat 9th. The catcher is Danny Schaefer. He pinch hit for Pagnazzi, so batting 7th. And pitching and batting cleanup is Tony Fossis. And who does Fossis get to face? Fred McGriff.
Fred's probably thinking a 10-0 game. What's going on?
Lines one into right for Sweeney. Just into the game. The dive for the out.
Fossis has been very tough on Fred McGriff in this series. He has retired him on 2 pop-ups. He did walk him yesterday, but Fred laces this one to right field. Fine play by Mark Sweeney, tested immediately.
That ball will find the guy that just came off the bench every time.
It will.
Now Klesko. So 2 pitches from Fossis. An out and a strike to Klesko. Lopez on deck. Ryan has a hit tonight. What you talked about in the open.
Yep. That's exactly what happens. You can talk to that front side as much as you want to, but you just cannot keep it in there when a guy drops down and throws that slider low and away.
1-2. One out, nobody on. Just missed. 2-2 on Klesko.
Incoming.
Now that is a great paper airplane.
Yeah, that's not a telestrator either, folks.
You started to clear your telestrator.
Yeah, exactly.
Klesko strikes out. 2 out here in the 5th inning.
Now, Tony Fossis, we talked about how the front side leaves the bail right here and the front shoulder. Pitchers call it bailing out right there. See the shoulder and the hip. No chance to hit that fastball low and away from Fossis. He is nasty on left-handers.
Now with 2 out, nobody on, it's Lopez, and that's golfed into center. Well hit. McGee back, will watch it leave. Lopez goes deep, and it's 11-0 Atlanta. And about the only satisfaction Cardinal fans are going to get is to watch that big fella throw it back. If he's willing.
It's down and out over the plate. Lopez a good low ball hitter, and he knows it's gone the moment he hits it, even though it goes to the deepest part of the ballpark here at Busch Stadium.
Nice catch by that fan. So far unwilling to give it back. Guy lines out to short. Top of the 5th inning is over. Only halfway through it. Lopez a home run. The Braves an 11-run lead.
Fox Sports coverage of Major League Baseball's National League Championship Series is brought to you by Buick, the new symbol for quality in America. By Zantac 75, the final word in acid relief. By Energizer, long-lasting Energizer batteries keep going and going. And by McDonald's. Have you had your break today?
We get into the bottom of the 5th inning. There's Stick Michael scouting for the New York Yankees.
And while we have a moment, I'd like to extend a happy birthday wish to my advanced scout, my son Michael, celebrating his 10th birthday today.
All right.
He watches all the advanced films for me and then lets me know what to look for.
Oh, that's great.
Sweeney looks at a ball up and away. We know that he's still watching.
Oh, absolutely. He stays to the bitter end of every ball game.
It's 11-0 Atlanta here in Game 5. The series looks like it's headed back to Georgia. 1 ball, 1 strike on Sweeney, his first at bat. Batting in the 9 spot. During the regular season, hit .265 mainly as a pinch hitter. Filled in very well during about a 5-week stretch when Ron Gant was out with a bad hamstring. Grounds to Lemke, 1 out here in the 5th. Well, if Atlanta wins tonight, then Wednesday it's Game 6 of the NLCS. It's back to Atlanta. Cards and Braves, the road to the World Series on Fox continues Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That'll be Game 6. And as it stands now, it's Greg Maddux and Donovan Osborne.
It's really back to the future Wednesday night.
1 out, nobody on. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Speaking of future, there is most likely the future Cy Young Award winner for the National League in 1996. Tommy Glavine winning it in 1991. The Braves turned everything around and got to the postseason. Then it was Greg Maddux in his run, which started in a Cubs uniform. 4 straight overall, 3 with Atlanta. Now it looks like Smoltz. Great play, McGriff. The leap and the step. 2 up.
Talk about pitchers going up the ladder against hitters, throwing that high fastball. Freddie McGriff has to go up the ladder his own self right there. Been high in the air to field that hopper.
Helps when you're 29 feet tall. Here's McGee. There's strike 1.
I know in the years I played here, of course, they had AstroTurf at that time here at Busch Stadium, but they used to keep the dirt area around home plate very hard so that those Cardinals hitters could take advantage, slap down on the ball, get those high hoppers, and take advantage of their tremendous speed that they had in the 80s.
Quick 2 strikes on McGee. There are 3 options for Tony La Russa in Game 6 with regard to who will play center field. It could be Brian Jordan with Mabry moving out to right and Dimitri Young at first base, or Sweeney in the lineup. It could be the same as tonight with McGee out in center. Or you could go back to Ray Langford, who is bothered by the bad left shoulder.
Tony La Russa implying, not saying it was official, but implying to me that it would be the former Joe, moving Mabry to right, Jordan to center, and Dimitri Young to first base.
McGee strikes out. Smoltz is through 5, and after 5 in St. Louis, Game 5, 11-0 Atlanta. Ready for the 6th inning here in St. Louis. McGee is out for the rest of the night, lifted for a bench player. That is Miguel Mejia. He takes over out in center field. Tony Foss is ready to work. 2nd inning of his outing here tonight. And it's ball 1 to Jeff Blauser. There's Mejia. Into the game in the 6th inning. 2-0 on Blauser. Hitting only 176 in this NLCS. Has a hit tonight, a 2-run triple, capping a 5-run first inning for the Braves. 3-0 from Fossis. Blauser, then Smoltz, then Grissom. There's a strike 3-1. It doesn't look like Bobby Cox is thinking along the same lines as you two were earlier with regard to Smoltz. He's through 5. Braves are out in front by 11, but there's no action in the Braves bullpen, and Smoltz looks like he's going to hit. Instead of using some of his bullpen tonight, resting Smoltz and maybe having him available for whatever emergency may arise later in this series. An eye on Game 7, the start of Tom Glavine.
Maybe Bobby is thinking that regardless of what happens, he wouldn't bring Smoltz back in Game 7. And by going the full complement of 9 innings or pitching a complete game, not that the complete game's that important, but the number of pitches to have him ready for Saturday against the New York Yankees with the normal 4 days rest and the full complement of pitches. But he's thrown enough pitches, it would seem, Other than that, I see no reason to leave him in this situation.
Well, the change that was made in center field, I believe, was made out of necessity. If we could get a look at Willie McGee's last at bat, this is the first pitch. He takes a good aggressive swing. Now watch this swing. You can see him grimace in pain now. A check swing. And the strike three, a very weak swing, and McGee comes out of the game after that, which becomes significant because of the injury to Ray Langford. You can see him grimacing in pain right there.
Tony La Russa may be forced into that move to move Mabry to right and Jordan to center and Dimitri Young to first. If he's got both Langford and McGee down.
Rafael Belliard is in to pinch run for Blauser. So Blauser reaches base 3 times tonight. Smoltz is swinging right into a double play. 6-4-3. A walk and a double play ball off the bat of Smoltz. 2 out here in the 6th.
Well, St. Louis fans have seen Ozzie Smith start double plays here. A little stylish there. Very routine play, but made it look pretty.
Smoltz doesn't appear too bothered by the double play off his bat. Why should he? Braves out in front by 11. The Braves hadn't been doing anything offensively coming in. Hitting only .235 as a team in this LCS before tonight. Only 12 runs total, 3 home runs, 2 of which were solo home runs. Braves were hitting a combined .175 with runners in scoring position. But tonight, forget about all that. 11 runs on 17 hits. One and one on Grissom. Into center for Mejia, just into the game. Puts it away. That glove's bigger than he is. We played 5.5 in St. Louis. Under the lights. Braves by 11. Routine play, but we might as well show you Miguel Mejia coming on to make the catch to end the top of the 6th inning. Look at the size of that glove compared to little Mike himself.
Well, we thought we'd take this opportunity to show you the difference between an outfielder's glove and an infielder's glove. The infielder's glove fits inside the outfielder's glove.
You know, a few years ago, there were a lot of controversies. They started measuring the gloves.
Right.
There's a definitive limit, I believe, is 13 inches from the heel of the glove to the tip of the fingers, and umpires actually started carrying tape measures along with their indicator to keep track of balls and strikes to measure gloves that they thought might be illegal.
There's a little infielder's glove. Yeah. Little mark.
Little peewee right there.
Jermaine Dye out in right. Back toward us. 1 ball, 1 strike. Smoltz still hitting 90+ miles per hour. Not slowing down here in the 6th inning. Two and one.
Eddie Montague, the first base umpire, just ran out to pick up another paper airplane. They're going to need an air traffic controller in here before too long.
Those are major paper airplanes. 2 balls and a strike. Now 3 and 1 from Smoltz to Gant. There's Dimitri Young. Interesting that he would pinch hit here, not only to give the Cardinals the normal pinch hitter. He may stay in the game if he is indeed going to start in Game 6. Be interesting to see if Dimitri Young gets a few more at bats, get a little more comfortable, because he may draw the assignment, the starting assignment at first base in Game 6, if Tony La Russa goes to that formula of moving Jordan to center and Mabry into right.
Suggesting he would do that before the game tonight if it goes to 6.
Gant pops it up. Right at home plate for Lopez. Tough play, 1 out. Our Mitsubishi Championship picture. The only team in Major League history to lose 2 postseason series after leading 3 games to 1 are the Cardinals. Cardinal fans aren't going to want to hear that. 1968, the World Series to the Tigers, and we've already talked about 1985 World Series with the Royals. Here's Dimitri Young And a nice hand from Cardinal fans for Dimitri after last night's 2-out, 2-run pinch hit triple, and he scored the tying run in the 7th. Strike one. Were you two as impressed with the patience of Dimitri Young at the plate as I was?
Yeah, very much so.
Different assignment with a guy like Smoltz. Swinging bunt. Lopez can't make the play. Willie Mosconi would have been proud of that.
Javier Lopez realizing that the quickest thing between 2 points is a straight line. Doesn't take one. Whoa.
That ball came down and just stopped.
They checked up on him there. One of your sand wedges in the green there, Tim.
Yeah, yours, not mine.
Base hit for Dimitri Young. So he's 2 for his last 2. He's aboard. The batter is Gaetti, who has 2 infield singles. So I guess when you look up at the scoreboard and you see 7 hits for the Cardinals, remember 3 of the hits have not left the infield off Smoltz. Kaiser getting ready. Cardinals are without one of their arms out of their bullpen. Last night, T.J. Matthews hurt his right groin, and he is most likely lost for the rest of the series. I saw him in the clubhouse. He can hardly walk around. So a big gun is lost for Tony La Russa. Dave Duncan.
And as we said yesterday, you cannot make a change in the roster once it's set during the playoff series. Now, if the Cardinals go on to win it, they can make a change in the pitching staff before they face the Yankees. But only the pitching staff. In other words, you cannot add a regular player if a pitcher goes down, nor a pitcher if a regular player goes down.
Only 84 pitches so far for Smoltz. It's 3-1 on Gaetti. What it may do is change the approach of Tony La Russa and the job description for Alan Bennis. He did come on to get a win in relief during the regular season. A big game, a Labor Day game here against Houston. Came in with a key strikeout. Last night pitched very well. And it may be Alan Bennis in short relief roles now instead of T.J. Matthews. Both are rookies. There's Andy. What are we looking at if there is a game 7? We already know it's Maddox and Osborne in game 6. Does Andy Bennis come back for game 7?
Or his brother Alan called upon.
Andy Bennis pitching on 3 days rest here last night. Lasted 5+ innings. A 1-out walk to Gaetti. An infield hit and a walk, and Smoltz will deal with Mabry. So whereas the next couple of games seem to lay out nicely for the Atlanta Braves and Bobby Cox, Tony La Russa certainly has some decisions in front of him with regard to center field and regard to his pitching rotation the rest of the way.
Well, nobody said managing in the big leagues was going to be easy, particularly when you get into postseason and injuries become a factor.
2 on, 1 out on Mabry. Into left field for Klesko. Mabry 1 out of 3 tonight. And it's 2 on, 2 out for Danny Schaefer. Schaefer struck out in his first at bat, pinch hitting for Pagnazzi back in the 4th. 2 on, 2 out. Ball 1 from Smoltz. break up the shutout. 1 ball, 1 strike on Schaefer. Lopez out to talk to Smoltz. Still no action for Atlanta in their bullpen as Smoltz is approaching the 100 pitch mark. Under it now, but getting there. Starter and winner in game 1, the 4-2 Atlanta win. A couple of RBIs in that game by Lemke, couple by Lopez to win it. Looks like he will win game number 5. 1-2 on Schaefer.
And he's helped himself with the bat in this game as well, with a couple of base hits, scored a run, drove in a run. I guess you could say he's pretty much done it all tonight up to this point.
And he's done it all before, an NLCS MVP at 92. 2-0 with an ERA of around 2.5 against Pittsburgh. Schaefer did not swing. Count goes to 2-2.
Good pitchers have a knack of doing that, fielding their position well, bunting well, able to put the ball in play when they're up at the plate. Gives you a chance to win a lot more ball games.
Schaefer stays alive. Dimitri Young, a swinging bunt to reach with 1 out here in the 6th inning. Then the walk to Gaetti. He's on base for the 3rd time tonight. And a 2-2 count on Danny Schaefer. 11-0 Atlanta out in front here in the 6th inning. Down 3 games to 1. This is game number 5. Now a full count on Schaefer, and the runners will take off. Alisea, the number 8 hitter, waits on deck. Runners go, and the check swing foul to stay alive.
How about that? A 3-2 slider with an 11-run lead. Gives you an idea of the confidence in the control of John Smoltz and his slider. You folks who may not know what a slider is, that's one right there.
Schaefer waiting for another 3-2 pitch. Runners go, and he'll do it again.
A slider is really a more descriptive pitch with a more descriptive word than a curveball is. If you're in doubt and you know a pitcher throws a slider and a curve, the slider breaks parallel to the ground. The curveball breaks more toward the ground, down. That's the general difference between the 2 pitches.
And generally a slider is thrown harder than a curve.
Right. It's actually just off the fastball speed.
Right at the shortstop, Belliard. We go into the 7th inning here in St. Louis. We'll be back to Busch Stadium right after this from your local Fox station. A number of changes as we get into the 7th inning here in St. Louis. Atlanta out in front 11-0. Our Aflac trivia question: who is the oldest player ever to hit a home run in a postseason game? Think about that. Tell you about the changes as we go along here in the 7th inning. Mark Benkisik into the game. For the Cardinals, he is their 4th pitcher of the night. Fossis went 2 full innings, allowed 1 run on 1 hit, and a home run by Javi Lopez. And here's Benkisik. And he starts Lemke with strike 1. Ground ball to Alisea, quickly 1 away at the top of the 7th.
Henry Aaron hit a home run in the 1969 playoffs against the New York Mets.
John Mabry has been moved out to right field. He's joined by Mejia in center, and Sweeney now moves from right to left. Ozzie and Alicea still on the infield, but it's now Gallego at third, Dimitri Young at first, Danny Schaefer catching. Petkajcik is on the mound, so only 2 left in the original starting lineup for Tony La Russa. Terry Pendleton off the bench to pinch hit. He bats for Chipper Jones. Numbers for Petkajcik, 11-2 during the regular season. Most of those wins picked up out of the bullpen. Pendleton tests Dimitri Young. Good play, 2 out. Dimitri Young is new to the first base position. He's really made a lot of strides the last year and a half at that spot, and he made a good play to his right on his first test defensively in the postseason.
And this, as we said earlier, could be a rehearsal for Wednesday night. Possibly Young moving to first, Mabry to right.
Now McGriff facing Petkajcik. McGriff tonight 1 out of 4. So still only 2 out of 17 in this playoff. 2-0.
Well, Dimitri Young at 6'2", 240 pounds, showed great speed on the triple last night and great agility on that play at first base.
Young has always battled a weight problem. He's really shed a lot of weight the last couple of years. This is the best shape of his professional career. 2 out, nobody on, and a 3-1 count on McGriff. Little squirter into shallow left for Ozzie. Braves go in order in the 7th. Time to stretch. It's been a long night, especially for St. Louis. They trail by 11. We are through 6.5 here in St. Louis. These two look a lot alike. John Smoltz back to work. Bottom of the 7th inning. Alicea leads it off, takes a strike.
I bet their parents look for a lot of 2-for-1 sales.
I mean, what are the what are the chances? What a coincidence. 2 kids sitting next to one another, looking so much alike. 1 ball, 1 strike on Alicea. Bottom of the 7th inning, 11-0 Atlanta. Scored 5 runs in the first inning and have been in charge ever since. Klesko in left. Alicea 0 for 3. Let us answer our Aflac trivia question. Is the oldest player ever to hit a home run in a postseason game? Dave Winfield at the age of 41. Wow. Game 5 of the 92 ALCS. We'll hear from Dave a little later. Sweeney, that's strike 1. Mark Sweeney is second at bat. He grounded out to second his first time up. Took over back in the 5th inning in the double switch. Pendleton takes over at third base after pinch hitting in the top of this inning. Alicea fly to left. The 1-1 pitch to Sweeney. Smoltz is still working well.
And he's not really giving up. I mean, he's still using all of his pitches, working the corners. If he falls behind in the count, he's more apt to go to the fastball, not risk walking anybody, but still showing a very sharp slider and a good split.
Just ask Mark Sweeney. 2 out. And for Smoltz, strikeout number 6. Next Sunday on Fox NFL Sunday, Eric Metcalf leads the Falcons into Dallas to take on Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and the Cowboys, plus other exciting regional action. It all begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Check local listings for the game and time in your area right here on Fox. That's next Sunday. Here's Ozzie Smith.
Could be his last at bat at Busch Stadium. Maybe.
Hitless in this series. one.
Well, much like it seems so strange to go to Dodger Stadium and not see Tommy Lasorda in that third base dugout, it would be strange to come to Busch Stadium and not see #1 at shortstop.
Brown wants a hit. If this is his last at bat at Busch Stadium, they're going to get another chance. He'll see another pitch. The count 1-2.
Yeah, I think the crowd kind of picked up on that, saying Ozzie, realizing that if the Cardinals go and lose to the Braves in Atlanta, this will possibly be his last at bat as a Redbird.
Only 40 hits shy of 2,500 in his career. He has come a long way from all glove, no hit shortstop. When he came to the Cardinals, it was 1982. Cardinals went on to the World Championship. Tries to bloop one into left. Belliard will take care of it. And the Cardinals go in order in the 7th. John Smoltz rolling. Braves trying to get this series back to Atlanta. They're on their way. They lead by 11. John Smoltz after the bottom of the 7th inning getting high fives, an indication he's probably through for the night. 7 shutout innings on only 7 hits. Andrew Jones will pinch hit. Lead it off here in the 8th inning, batting for Ryan Klesko. Andrew Jones made the start here in game 3. While he was in there, was 0 for 2 plus a walk. Was lifted late in the game for a pinch hitter. Two balls and a strike. Now 2-2 from Pregame. Now you highlighted the left-handers at the top of the show, Honeycutt and Fawcett. Pregame, quite a weapon out of the bullpen for Tony La Russa with that good sinker. You can bring him in tight spots, look for that double play ball, and at times maybe hope for the double play ball or just get that ground ball, get out of trouble.
And with that sinker, he's equally effective against righties and lefties. Matching it with a pretty good breaking ball, keep the ball down.
At a 1-2-3 7th inning. Still a full count on Andrew Jones.
Even though he won't tell us what he does to left-handers.
Said he got a lot of calls after you relayed that story.
If you happen to miss game 1, we asked Mark before game 1, saying, you do something different to left-handed batters.
Ozzie, the leaping catch, 1 out here in the 8th inning.
And I asked Pregame, I said, what do you do differently? And he looked at me and he said, I'd rather not tell you.
Just like you might ask Doug Henning about his favorite tricks. You just can't reveal those things.
David Copperfield.
Whatever happened to Doug Henning?
He went the way of most magicians. He vanished.
Probably hanging out with Gallagher somewhere.
Gallagher is one of my favorite, as a matter of fact.
Thought he might be.
He is a sick puppy.
In a good way.
Good sick puppy, right. Sick puppy in a good way.
It's nothing like a sledgehammer and a watermelon.
Now that's entertainment.
Dimitri Young can't take care of it to his left. Lopez looking for another hit. He finds it. Now looking for the double. He has that. And he's at second with 1 out here in the 8th inning. Javier Lopez with a walk, a single, a double, a homer. What a night for Lopez here in game 5.
What that could have done, Joe, is highlight exactly what you folks may see on Wednesday night. That's why they think so highly of John Mabry. Look at that play. Here's a guy who's been playing first base all season long. Sliding to make the play, and a strong arm from what I hear in right field.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't see on this play is the arm strength of John Mabry. Some in the organization cringed when it came down that Mabry would end up a first baseman because it's a waste of a great arm.
He's on that ball like a cat there. Uses the slide to stop his momentum rather than run into the wall down there, and got to his feet quickly. Got the ball back in.
And on top of that, if it does pan out that way and Mabry's playing right, that moves Brian Jordan to center, and he can go get him in center field. Runner at second, 1 out, 2-0. The count on Jermaine Dye. There's that sinker, 2-1.
Good power sinker. I heard a major league scout describe Petkaisek's sinker as a turbo sinker one time.
Heard of turbo sliders, but never a turbo sinker.
2-2. Runner at second, 1 out here in the 8th inning. A 1-out double by Lopez. The 2-2 count on Jermaine Dye. Good pitch. 2 out. First strikeout for Petkaisek.
Your right-handed hitters talking about Petkaisek. They say he's nasty, and nasty for a reason. The sinker down, now the curveball. Pitcher's one of the few guys in sports that can be called nasty, and it's a compliment.
Jermaine Dye will agree. Petkaisek, a guy who was let go by the Texas Rangers. Up the middle, off the bat of Belliard. Here comes Lopez. Mejia doesn't bother with a throw, and it's 12-0. And now that makes you think about the largest margin of victory in any LCS. That came in 1984. A 13-0 win for the Cubs over San Diego. Here it's 12-0 Atlanta in the 8th.
Now, Rafael Belliard wasting no time after that first pitch. A hanging curveball this time, going back through the box once again.
So Belliard gets on the board.
That's the 10th single to center field tonight.
Here's Louis Polonium pinch hitting. Batting for Smoltz, and he takes ball 1.
If you're a hitting instructor, you'll love that.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, they're wearing out the grass back through the middle, but
big night for Atlanta. 12 runs on 19 hits. 1-1 on Polonia. Polonia pinch hit in last night's 9th inning with the tying run at second and nobody out. Surprised a lot of people that the Braves weren't bunting, and he popped up. For 2 as a pinch hitter in this series. 2-1 from Petkaisek.
The reason I said hitting coaches like guys getting hits up the middle. That's the proper approach. It's also the proper approach in batting practice. That's what the real good hitters do. Try to hit it up the middle.
Polonia skies 1 to right. Mabry waits for it. Inning over. Braves add a run on 2 hits, leave a man, and after 7.5 lead St. Louis by 12.
Fox Sports coverage of Major League Baseball's National League Championship Series is brought to you by Nissan, who reminds you that life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. By new Axid AR, proven so effective it can prevent heartburn completely. By the U.S. Army, be a part of the toughest, smartest army in the world. Be all you can be. And by Wendy's and the new bigger, plumper grilled chicken breast filet sandwich. Try one today.
Bottom of the 8th inning here in St. Louis. It's been all Atlanta. 5 runs in the first inning. Lemke, 4 out of 5. He was 4 for his first 4. Stottlemyre did not get through 2 innings. In fact, picked up only 3 outs in his start. Smoltz, 98 career postseason strikeouts, a major league record. Here tonight, he struck out 6. St. Louis 7 hits. They've left 7 on. And it's been a night dominated by Atlanta as Miguel Mejia leads it off and fouls. Strike 1 down the right field line. First at bat for Mejia, who had only a handful of at-bats during the regular season. There's the culprit, Mr. Paper Airplane. Yeah, don't try to act innocent.
the size of that thing, he could get on and ride that down from the upper deck.
0-1 the count on Mejia. 0-2 from Mike Bilecki, the new pitcher for the Braves. Ball and 2 strikes. Anytime you show a kid in the seats doing something devious, you think of Jeff Mayer, but that was not Jeff. Here's Mike Mordecai, the second baseman, into the game in place of Lemke.
We may have a chance to see Jeff Mayer in person next Saturday night.
Boy, that'll be a treat. Andrew Jones takes over in left field. 2-2 on Mejia. Strikes out. You better hurry, Javi. He can run. 1 out.
Hey, the way Jeff Mayer's been going, we better worry about our jobs. He may be after it. The publicity he's been getting.
He'll have his own talk show by the time we get to New York.
Right. On Letterman the other night.
Sitting right behind the Yankee dugout.
Yeah. Who will it be? The Cardinals or Braves?
Gallego looks at a ball. Coming up, Tim, Bob, and I will award today's Chevrolet Player of the Game. Hang on for that. 1 out, nobody on in the 8th inning. I mean, you could pick anyone for Atlanta. Lemke 4 for his first 4. Grissom 3 out of his first 4. Chipper Jones reached base in his first 3 at-bats. John Smoltz comes up with a big effort in a game the Braves needed to win to get back to Atlanta. The Braves got 5 runs in the first inning. That had to really calm Smoltz down if he was nervous at all, which you probably don't expect him to be with all the postseason experience he had coming in.
I think Timmy mentioned at the time what it really did in effect was completely take these fans out of the ball game, and they were a huge factor in the first 2 games here at St. Louis.
You know who loved that 5-run first inning almost as much as the Braves? The New York Yankees. They hope these 2 teams tire each other out. They hope it goes to 7. They hope they play 2 games like they played on Saturday and Sunday to end the thing, and they hope they use a lot of pitching.
3-2 on Gallego. We still have not seen Clontz out of the bullpen for Atlanta. We've seen plenty of Bilecki, McMichael, Wohlers. Haven't seen Terrell Wade, and very little of Steve Avery. Their bullpen is well rested, while the Cardinals have lost T.J. Matthews to injury. Gallego draws a 1-out walk here in the 8th inning. And they're having to go back to guys like Fawcett, Petkazik. You saw Honeycutt warming up. It's interesting that Honeycutt is the one warming up instead of Alan Bennis. I'm sure Honeycutt could use a day off, even with an off day coming up, but because of the shortage of arms out there, it's Honeycutt getting ready and Alan Bennis staying put. Maybe a thought toward Game 7.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Instead of Andy Bennis, maybe Alan Bennis, if it goes that far.
Dimitri Young into deep left center. Caught by Grissom. Held on to by Andrew Jones, and an extra base hit is taken away off the bat of Dimitri Young. That ball hit in almost the exact same spot as his triple here last night.
Well, Grissom's after this ball all the way. The center fielder is the captain of the outfield. He's got a beat on it. You can see Jones gives him a little bump against the wall there, but then holds him up, keeps him on his feet. Good concentration right there. You know you're getting close to that other fielder. And as you said earlier, you can't really hear each other because of the crowd noise.
Ray Langford now will come off the bench and pinch hit for Petkazik. He went 2 innings, allowed a run on 2 hits, struck out 1. Langford looks at a ball. Ray Langford did not make the start here last night. Instead, it was McGee. Same story here tonight. And you wonder about Game 6. 1-1 on Langford. Bilecki trying to pitch around a 1-out walk to Gallego. Strike 2 on Langford.
I'm sure Mike Bilecki looking forward to November. That's when he's going to get his hair cut. He's had his hair cut twice this year, and he lost 2 of his 3 decisions those days. So he said, I will not get my hair cut till after the season's over. And if the Braves go to the World Series, his locks are going to be even longer.
1 on, 2 out, 1-2 to Langford, 2-2.
Little John Travolta look-alike out there, huh?
They said when he ended up coming back to spring training with Atlanta, he rides in on his motorcycle.
Yeah.
His hair was flowing in the breeze. He cut his hair during spring training, but only twice during the regular season.
Only twice during the regular season. He lost on both days, so he said no mas.
You know, he's really got pretty hair. Langford strikes out. We've played 8. Braves by 12. We are into the top of the 9th inning. Braves out in front by a dozen. Their 19 hits, tying an LCS record. If Atlanta wins tonight, then Wednesday it's Game 6 of the NLCS. The Cardinals take on the Braves back at Fulton County Stadium. This is Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We are nothing if not cautious. Rick Honeycutt takes over. He is the 5th pitcher of the night for St. Louis.
A little tune-up for Honeycutt that he probably doesn't really need. Tony La Russa trying to keep that bullpen sharp. We talked at the top of the show about how effective the left-handers have been out of the bullpen, and certainly you want to keep them sharp with an off day tomorrow. Give him an inning.
It's been a long night.
Either that or nobody else in the Cardinals bullpen would answer the phone.
Which is a distinct possibility. 9th inning, top of the order for Atlanta, meaning Marquise Grissom will step to the plate for the 6th time tonight. He had 4 at-bats in the first 4 innings. And he pops it into left field. Sweeney over to get it. 1 out in the 9th. You will see the veterans going up there hacking at pitch number 1.
This is like the last game of spring training.
Yeah.
Used to fine guys if they walked or even if they had a 2-ball count.
Talking about the 19 hits for Atlanta, that ties a Yankees LCS record for most hits in a game. Picked up in Game 2 of the 1981 LCS against Oakland. Of course, the Yankees went on to win that LCS. Met the Dodgers in the World Series, and that's the last time the Yankees were there. Terrell Wade, the lefty, Brad Klontz, the right-hander. Neither appeared in this series so far. Mordecai, his first at-bat, it's a base hit. And that makes it 20 hits and an LCS record. It belongs to Atlanta. And it's Mordecai who gets the hit in his first at-bat.
Kidding about a spring training game, though, Bob. The difference in a spring training game like this and this game is it counts. And that's the old personal incentive, especially for a guy like Mike Mordecai, his first LCS at bat this year. He was tutored by Eddie Stanky in college ball, going to South Alabama. Eddie Stanky is coach there. And Eddie Stanky, very influential, along with George Kissel, who is probably the greatest teacher of baseball fundamentals of anybody I've ever run into. He's 76 years old. George in the instructional league now, down in Florida, running the instructional camp for the St. Louis Cardinals. Talk about a solid baseball man who has a way of teaching things that you'll never forget. Never.
You couldn't put a complete list of people together who have been influenced by George Kissel.
Earl Weaver, Whitey Herzog. You know, respected teachers of the game and managers who still go back to the early days of being taught by George Kissel. He spans 2 generations, really, at least 2.
Pendleton, the man at the plate, someone influenced by George Kissel, coming up in the Cardinal organization. Pendleton strikes out looking for the 2nd out here in the 9th inning. And if you're struggling like Fred McGriff is struggling, 1 out of 5 tonight, 2 out of 18 in the series, He's had an at-bat tonight against Tony Fossis. He lined to right. He now gets to face his good old buddy, Rick Honeycutt. More of the same from Honeycutt and McGriff. Strike one.
You brought up an excellent point earlier, Joe, talking about the fact that Tony La Russa could be just trying to keep Fred McGriff mired in that slump by pitching left-handers against him.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Fossis got him. Now Honeycutt gets him to fly to center at the track at the wall. It is gone. So much for the slump. Not only for the entire LCS, but against the left-handers, especially Honeycutt. Fans throw the ball back, and I bet McGriff would like to have it. That makes it 14-0 here in the 9th inning. So McGriff faces Honeycutt. And not only do the Atlanta Braves have an LCS record for most hits in a game, they now have the largest margin of victory if they can hang on. And that fan says it all for Cardinal fans here tonight.
In the bushes at Bush.
Made a strong throw, too. Got to hit the cutoff man, though.
7th career postseason home runs for McGriff. You saw the 28 during the regular season, but only 8 were after the All-Star break. 14-0 Atlanta. 2 out, nobody on. It's Andrew Jones, and it's a 1-1 count.
Well, that's the best approach Freddie McGriff has had against a left-handed pitcher in this series. He seemed like he made up his mind he was going to go back up the middle with whatever he saw. Got a breaking ball to his liking and drove it to dead center field.
Oh, that ball carried a long way.
Yeah, and it follows. We've talked about hitting the ball up the middle all night. Atlanta Braves with 10 hits up the middle. Your shoulders in the proper position when you hit the ball back through the box. You know, pitching and hitting are really the same things. It's the front shoulder, the closed shoulder.
2 out, nobody on. 3-1 to Jones. Now a walk.
George Kissel, speaking of George, we were playful one day in finding different ways to remember things, and we came up with the way to stay closed shoulders. You throw with the closed shoulder, you hit with a closed shoulder. So we said highway construction, closed shoulders, the best way to remember it. And George could do that with the best of them. Those were the little teaching tools where you never forgot things.
So many George Kissel sayings you hear from one player to the next. Things that stick along the way.
Yeah.
Interesting that highway construction would stick with you.
Closed shoulders. I've never forgotten it.
I would think orange cones if somebody told me highway construction.
Here's Javi Lopez. 2 out, a runner at first.
40-mile-an-hour speed limit, right?
Honeycutt trying to end top of the 9th inning. It has been a long night. And you wonder how a rather young Cardinal team, at least parts of it, it's a nice mix with this Cardinal team. You got a lot of experienced veterans, but a lot of younger players who have never been in this type of situation. Wonder how they will react in Game 6, not only after this defeat, which seems inevitable now, but going into that game facing Greg Maddux.
With an injured Willie McGee, possibly, we don't know how serious it is, an injured Ray Lankford, and an injured Terry Matthews.
1 on, 2 out. Lopez drives it into the left field corner. Andrew Jones heads around second, will stop at third. It's a double for Javier Lopez, who now has a single, 2 doubles, a home run, and a walk. Lacking only the triple to hit for the cycle. And it's second and third, 2 out for Jermaine Dye.
Well, that's Lopez Lane right there. He is a dead pull hitter, usually hits the ball somewhere from the shortstop third base hole to the foul line. This one no exception, a hooking bullet down into the left field corner.
Jermaine Dye. Into right, well hit. Mabry back. Inning over. With the 14 runs, the Braves have tied their own LCS record for runs in a game set in '93. Bottom of the ninth, they lead by 14. We are ready for the bottom of the ninth inning here in St. Louis. 14-0. Atlanta out in front. New battery for the Atlanta Braves here in the ninth inning. Terrell Wade will make his first NLCS appearance during the regular season. 5-0. A number of starts along the way. Really proves something as a starter for Atlanta. Steve Avery went down. Eddie Perez takes over behind the plate. John Mabry leads it off. He is 1 out of 3 tonight. He's played throughout. Strike one. Mabry, Alicea, and Ozzie Smith have hung in there since the first pitch of the night. Strike two from Terrell Wade. Doesn't show any rust so far. Wow. On 3 pitches, Mabry is gone, and Wade in his first postseason appearance strikes out John Mabry. And that's going to be all for Terrell Wade, evidently. We haven't seen Clontz. Now we will.
Bobby just trying to get his pitchers into the game. Give them a little work, preparing them for Wednesday.
We are in the bottom of the ninth inning, 1 out here in the frame. Brad Clontz has taken over. He's already 0-2 on Schaefer. The check swing over the head of Clontz. Belly off. They got him. Schaefer doesn't argue. Under other circumstances, he may have.
Scattered boos here at Busch in this 14-0 game. Close play at first. It's like the folks that have stayed here stayed around just to boo a play like this. Well, maybe we'll get a close play to boo.
Alicea lines to left, and this game comes to a close. A 14-0 win for Atlanta. Clontz sews it up. A big night for Atlanta, facing elimination. They get the series back to Fulton County Stadium. The Cardinals lead the series 3-2. Today's Chevrolet player of the game is Mark Lemke. Mark Lemke, 4 hits in his first 4 at-bats, which included that first inning double. A night dominated by John Smoltz and Atlanta. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap things up. A long night in St. Louis. Cardinals still out in front in the series 3-2, but this series heads back to Dixie. A long night in St. Louis. We are headed back to Atlanta for Game 6 and maybe 7 coming up this week. Game 6 is on Wednesday night. So for Tim McCarver and Bob Brenly, Joe Buck, there's your final. Let's go down to Chip Caray. Chip.
Okay, Joe, thanks a lot. A record-setting night for the Braves. A 14-run margin, 22 hits. That's the tops in National League Championship Series play. By the way, this kind of reminds you of the Little League World Series, doesn't it? The Braves look like Chinese Taipei the way they smashed around the Cardinals moundsmen tonight. But the series heads back now to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. It's Game 6. Of course, we'll have it for you Wednesday night. Donovan Osborne, again on 3 days rest, will try to beat 4-time Cy Young Award winner Greg Maddux. We'll have it for you at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Game 6, the Cardinals and the Braves right here on Fox. It's been a long night, a great night for Atlanta. We're heading back to Dixie, and for our entire crew, this is Chip Caray. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Wednesday night. So long, everybody.